Hey everyone, welcome back to Sham's Makeup Artistry. If you're very new to my channel, my name is Shamala. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Today we're going to have a little chit chat kind of video right here because I'm going to share with you guys my thoughts on powders and especially translucent powders. Many of us do struggle to find the right setting powder when we wear makeup on our skin. Usually for oily skin girls, you definitely want to set your makeup, and for that you need translucent powders or very good setting powders so that your makeup stays well on your skin. And for combination to dry skin girls, you want to set your makeup at the same time. You do not want your skin to look dry and flaky. You probably know what I meant, and for me, I do look for powders that can set in my makeup at the same time, doesn't make me look dry or flaky, because I do have a combination to dry skin. So I did take out all my translucent powders, and all these translucent powders and also setting powders, I've already tested them. There are some I really love, some is just sitting in my vanity, so I like to share them with you and my thoughts on each one of them. So I do hope it doesn't take way too long. Without further ado, let's just get started. So I did put in all my translucent powders inside my Sephora box. Like I mentioned, I do have couple of them, so let's get started with it. And the very first one that I like to share with you is something that I'm wearing on my face area today, and I have been trying out this powder not for a long time, and it's pretty new to my vanity, but I definitely like this powder and I would like to share them with you. And it's by Charlotte Tilbury, and this is their Airbrush Flawless Finish Skin Perfecting Micro Powder, and I'm in the shade number 3. So I do have like a deeper skin tone, and number 3 was the deepest shade available in the entire Airbrush powder range. I'm not sure whether they're going to come up with multiple ones, but I do hope they come out with many more shade range, because number 3 isn't that dark at all, and it would not match every other skin tone that are pretty much after my skin shade. I personally do really love this powder. I kind of feel like it gives you the most flawless airbrushed looking skin, but I personally would not recommend this powder for someone who has much more of an oily skin. The reason I'm saying this is because I've tried out this powder in a much more heat weather than a cooler weather. I did see that I get pretty oily. I'm oily on my T-zone area, and when I applied this powder on my T-zone area and I was out for the day and then the weather was really sunny on that day, I got pretty oily and I had to blot my skin very frequently. So I did not like that kind of finish on my skin during the hot summer day. So I personally would not recommend this powder for someone who has oily skin. I'm pretty sure that it will really make you look very greasy and oily. For someone who has a combination to dry skin, it looks really nice on the skin. You may have to blot here and there, but it's not going to look as bad as it will look on an oily skin person, if that does make sense. Moving on to the next one, it's by Mercier, and this is the CandleGlow Sheer Perfecting Powder, and I'm in the shade number 3. This particular powder, I personally feel that it looks very similar to the Charlotte Tilbury one. I do not see much of a difference between these two, and also the price range of these two are almost similar. I personally felt that I did not notice much of a difference between the Charlotte Tilbury one and also the CandleGlow one, but I felt that the Airbrush Flawless Finish by Charlotte Tilbury holds a little bit more during the heat, much than the CandleGlow powder. This one makes your skin even more oilier, if that does make sense. So this aren't made for oily skin people out there. I personally would not recommend it to anyone who has oily skin at all. Except when the months are much more colder, your skin tend to be a little bit drier and you want your skin to look a little bit more glowier. That's when you want to reach out for these powders if you tend to have oily skin. The next one that I'm going to share with you is a translucent powder, and it's by Mercier, and this is their secret brightening powder. This one suits well with every skin tone. I personally like using this powder to set the concealers, the highlight concealers that I've applied around my under eye area and also my T-zone area. I love using this powder. I kind of feel that it brightens up the skin. And it doesn't show out micro fit. That's what I like about it. All the fine wrinkles, it doesn't emphasize on it, and it doesn't show up dry. That's what I like about it, because I do have like a dry under eye area. This one helps a lot with it. I love using this with a brush. I just dab it on the under eye area and also on the areas that I've applied concealer. Sometimes I like using the beauty blender to just blend it in, and I really like the brightness that it adds to the skin. I kind of prefer the secret brightening powder from Mercier much more than the Mercier translucent powder. Okay, I'm coming to this one next. So mine is badly broken. I do have like tons of powder, but somehow the whole lid broke and the powder is getting everywhere. And this is their translucent powder. It's of course wearable on all skin tone, but I personally do not like this powder on myself. Being a combination to dry skin, I personally feel that this powder makes me much older than I am. It kind of makes my skin look dry and it kind of like wrinkly. I just don't know how to express it. I don't know why. I just do not like this powder. Even during summer, I kind of feel that I kind of felt that there are much more better translucent powders that are out there comparing to the Mercier translucent powder. I know that this powder is a cult favorite for many of you, but for me it just doesn't work. I did try using it so many times in different ways, but it just doesn't work for my skin. Up next is also a translucent powder, and it's an high-end brand, and it's by Mer. And this is their translucent powder in number 05. It comes in a humongous packaging like this. Like I've mentioned, this is much more like an high-end version of translucent powders, and it's pretty costly. But I personally do not like this translucent powder. I do not feel that this is worth the buy. In fact, this was once a cult product as well. It was mentioned everywhere on the social media, but on me it just doesn't work. I kind of feel that the powders, though it says that it's a translucent powder, this product is very finely milled. It looks very luxurious even when you feel the powder itself, but somehow it just makes me look green when I apply it on my skin. Being a translucent powder, it shouldn't have a color on your face, but for me it kind of ends up looking green. I've given this a try like crazy multiple times because, like I've mentioned, it's pretty costly, but it just doesn't work out for me. This has just been laying down in my vanity for some time. I probably just give it off and make it work for someone else instead of just keeping it with me and then it will go expired. The next one that we have here is the MAC Patrick Starr Set Powder. This powder was launched pretty much, I believe, early of this year, and I got very excited to try it out because Patrick Starr does have very good makeup skills. So I definitely wanted to give it a go to their setting powder. And I personally felt that this setting powder was a little bit drying on my skin because, again, I have a combination to dry skin. But I've heard a lot from oily skin girls that they do love this particular setting powder. I do love this setting powder on the days that it's a little bit more sunny, and I feel that on the days that it's a little bit more sunny, I feel that it sinks into my skin pretty well. And on the days that it's a little bit more drier and chill, I feel that the powder looks dry on my skin. I do feel that on the days that it's colder, when I look at myself after settling in all my makeup, I feel that it emphasizes the dryness on my skin. But on the days that it's pretty hot, it keeps my makeup stay well on my skin, and I do like it. Overall, it's a good powder, and I would personally recommend this for someone who has much more of an oily skin than to a combination to dry skin. The next one that I'd like to share with you is also an high-end product, and it's by Chantecaille, and this is their Illuminating Face Powder in De Rose. I believe this was a limited edition. I'm not sure whether it's still available, don't quote me on that, but this has like a beautiful embossing on it, if you guys can see. And so the reason I got this particular beautiful face illuminating powder is of course to have the nice glow on my face, and Chantecaille is a high-end product, and they claim that most of the products that they have, it's like it beautifies the skin so nicely, and of course I wanted to give it a try. And I kind of felt like spending the money on this was a total waste, because there are much more beautiful setting illuminating powders that are out there which looks beautiful on the skin, but this one did nothing on my skin. And when you swatch it, this is how it looks like it just looks like maybe a pale kind of highlighter, or probably it just did not work for my skin. I did not like this at all. Now let's move on to the Hourglass. This is their Ambient Lighting Palette, and this does come with 3 different shades of their ambient lighting powders. The very first one is Dim Light, Incandescent Light, and Radiant Light. Love this particular palette. If they are available, I'll link them down on the description bar below. I believe now you can actually pick out the powders that you want and then put them in a palette. So I'll link down the information on the description bar below, but I really love this one. I personally feel that these are one of the best translucent, illuminating, kind of beautifying powders that are out there. Hourglass is one of the best. Besides Hourglass, all the high-end ones are just not worth it in my opinion. I personally feel this is definitely worth the buy. The last one right here is Radiant Light, which I prefer to use it as a highlighter on the days that I do not want too much of an highlighter look going on my face. It gives a very nice settled kind of look with the highlighter. And the rest of the 2 powders here, I like using it for the under eye area. It brightens up the under eye area beautifully. Up next is a translucent powder that I reviewed. I believe it's my second video here on YouTube. Now I have about 400 plus of videos. This one was my second video, and I love this translucent powder until now. And it's the Nars Light Reflecting Translucent Powder. This is of course a repurchase for me. Of course, I've not been using the same one. For someone who has a combination to dry skin, you have to check this one out. This translucent powder keeps up to its name of light reflecting. It gives a beautiful glow to the face, and it keeps the makeup at bay. It doesn't make your makeup look much oilier throughout the day, and it wears beautifully even on the camera. It doesn't have like a white flash, and I really like it. This one is definitely a must buy if you have a combination to dry skin. Even for oily skin girls, this would give you the beautiful glow that you need for your skin, just like a very natural glow. It doesn't give you too much of like a powdery look on your skin. At the same time, it makes the makeup last on your skin. The next one that I have here is from Kat Von D, and this is also their translucent powder. And this is their Lock-It translucent powder. Again, this is another favorite of mine. I think I'm almost done with this translucent powder. I love using this to set the makeup, and it wears on the skin really beautifully, just like the Nars one. This is of course much more like a brightening effect to the face, but this one doesn't look cakey or powdery over the face. I do not like powders that end up making my skin look very heavy with makeup, and this doesn't do it at all, and it keeps the makeup at bay. And I really love this translucent powder. I love using brush to set this powder in. I also love beauty blenders with it. I would personally recommend this one for all skin type. It wears beautifully on all skin types. So if you want to check out the Lock-It translucent powder by Kat Von D, make sure you do that. Next, let's move on to the Bare Minerals. This is their Bare Skin Perfecting Veil Powder. This one does work like a setting powder as well, and I love this powder. I'm in the shade 10 to dark. This powder, you can use it all over your face area. Need not buy the Airbrush one. This one works pretty similar like the Airbrush one, half the price. It kind of sets the foundation on your skin really well, and it doesn't make your skin feel heavy or cakey, and it keeps the oil at bay. Up next is by MAC, and it's next to nothing. This is their pressed powder in the shade dark. This one, I pretty much do not have a verdict for it because I just don't know what it did for my skin. All I could use it for was when I apply my eyeshadow primer, I just want a translucent powder or a powder to just set in the primer. I was using this. Otherwise, I did not see it doing anything for my skin. I felt that when I compared it to the Bare Mineral one, this one works better for my skin. At least I can see it doing something for my skin. Now let's move on to Beauty Bakery. Of course, this brand is all raved here on social media, and I wanted to try out their translucent powder, and I got their Bitter Not Better Flour setting powder, and this is in the shade Translucent. So this one, I personally feel that it's just like any other translucent powders that I've tried which are out there, and I did not personally feel that there is a specialty about this particular translucent powder. If you have tried them out and you feel that it works much more better than any other translucent powders, definitely suggest me how you felt it looks much more better than any other translucent powders. But for me, I personally felt that it pretty much works like any other translucent powders that are out there. Next, it's the Becca's Hydra Mist Set and Refresh powder. This is of course another powder that is all over the social media currently, and I do love this translucent powder. On the days that is sunny, I kind of just dab my brush or even my beauty blender inside this particular powder. I believe that this powder contains 50% of water in it, and it's wet when you apply it on your skin. But it sets in the oiliness or the makeup beautifully on the skin. I do not like this on my under eye area. On my under eye area, I kind of feel that it ends up looking really dark, but over the face area, it wears so beautifully. On the days that it's much more sunny, I kind of use this with a beauty blender or even a brush. I just dab it over my T-zone area, and it absorbs the oil beautifully on and keeps my makeup, and throughout the day it keeps my makeup at bay. I do not see myself getting oily, or I do not need to block my skin. I would personally recommend this powder for any skin type. For those of you who have oily skin up to the drier skin, you can definitely give this a go. This is a beautiful setting powder, but again, I do not recommend it for the under eye area. The next one is also from Becca, and this one is their Soft Light Blurring Powder in the shade Golden Hour. And I hate this translucent powder. I do not know why. It just doesn't work out for me. It doesn't do anything for my skin. I do not see it blurring my skin. I feel that it makes my skin look much more darker and dry and flaky. So I personally would not recommend this one. This one again is their blurring powder. I do not like their blurring powder. I have tried a couple of powders from Becca, and I personally feel that overall I do not like Becca's powders at all. Somehow they do not work for my skin, except for the Hydra Mist one. I do not know why, but it just doesn't help my skin in any way, and I wouldn't personally recommend this one. The next one that I have here is by NYX. This is a press finishing powder, and it's a HD powder, and it's also a mineral based powder. It does look white right here. It does look upfront white right here, but when you wear it over your face area, it just doesn't look like anything. It's like nothing over your skin. So I've already blended the powder on my skin. You can't really see it at all. It doesn't show white on the camera, but it does set in the makeup really well on the skin. I do like this for my under eye area as well. It brightens up the under eye area really beautifully, and it's very affordable. So if you want to check out something more on an affordable range and also from the drugstore, you may want to check the NYX HD Finishing Powder. The next one that I'd like to share with you is by Derma E, and this is their Sun Protection Mineral Powder in an SPF of 30. And this is a collaboration with I Heart Makeup Art. I really love this setting powder. This one is like on the go. You just have to carry it inside your bag and you just have to dab the powder. It gets out the powder when you dab the brush, and then you apply that over your face. You can't really see it, but you can see all the dust probably flying, and that's how you get the product out. And it keeps the face looking so flawless, and it really keeps the skin going throughout the day. For me, I feel that when I use this powder to set in my makeup, I do not need to blot my skin. Even being a combination to dry skin, I do need to blot my skin sometimes, especially on the T-zone area. With this one, I do not need to do anything, and I really love this one. If you can get your hands on this, you definitely want to try this one. I have two more left. One of it is from Dior, and this is their loose powder in the shade 003, and it also says that it's in the shade Transparent Deep. This one again is much more of like a high-end product, but I do not like these translucent powders. Most of the products that I've purchased, which is much more pricier, which I've shared with you today, it kind of did nothing for me. And likewise, the Dior translucent powder, I kind of felt that it did not do anything for me, and I do not like them. I kind of feel that when I set my makeup with this powder, it kind of looks very red on my skin. At the same time, it looks very cakey on my skin, and I do not like that feeling at all. And for me, I feel that there are much more beautiful powders that we can get out there, which is much more at an affordable price, comparing it to this one, which is right here. And the last one is from Chanel, and this is their Le Beige Healthy Glow Sheer Color Broad Spectrum SPF 15 Sunscreen Powder, and this one is in the shade N30. I personally really like this powder. On the days that I'm going for a special occasion, I want to feel extra luxurious, this one has to be my setting powder, and I feel that it gives a beautiful glow to my skin. Very similar to the Airbrush feeling, but this does have color in it. If you get the wrong shade, you will end up looking green. I did get another shade which I believe was N40 or N50. They kind of look green on my face. I do not know why I end up looking green with some powders. I personally do not know why some powders end up making me look green. Like if it makes me look dirty or muddy or white, I can accept that, but looking green is kind of weird, but that's how I personally feel my skin looks like. But with the shade N30, it kind of matches my skin tone. If you kind of love the high-end makeup products and you want to try out something from the high-end brand, you may want to check out the Charlotte Tilbury one or the Chanel one. Those are my kind of favorite, and I do hope that my info and a little bit of sharing and chatting about powders did give you a helping hand to select the best translucent powders or setting powders that are out there for us. To my very next one, stay beautiful both inside and out. Give me a thumbs up, share all your love and support, and subscribe to my channel. Goodbye.